Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Please accept the service. Glory Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. I hope.
Hare Krishna.
Obeisances to all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
So Guru Maharaj, should I share his screen? I assume we have finished the process of devotional service. And do we want to go to the next chapter, Life's Ultimate Goal, Love of Godhead?
No.
Okay.
We're going to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila.
Oh, sorry.
Adi Lila.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Sorry.
Chapter 3. Verse 49, I think it is. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to wait a few minutes to see how many more devotees get online.
Sure, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.
This verse is originally from the Mahabharata, and it's the verse that one of the verses that identifies Lord Chaitanya by his different features and activities. See, we only have 7 participants. It's not so many.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. By the time, would you want to, is it okay if we read the chapter preface little bit? Only if you want to, otherwise we can wait.
We'll go ahead and begin on that verse.
Okay, Guru Maharaj.
Suvarna Varno Hemango Varagas Chananagadi Sanyasa Krichama Santo Mishta Shanti Parayanaha. Translation. In his early pastimes, he appears as a householder with a golden complexion. His limbs are beautiful, and his body, smeared with the pulp of sandalwood, seems like molten gold. In his later pastime, he accepts the sannyas order, and he is equipoised and peaceful. He is the highest abode of peace and devotion, where he silences the impersonal non-devotee. Read it again. In his early pastimes, he appears as a householder with a golden complexion. His limbs are beautiful, and his body, smeared with the pulp of sandalwood, seem like molten gold. In his later pastime, he accepts the sannyas order, and he is equipped and peaceful, equipoised and peaceful. He is the highest abode of peace and devotion, where he silences the impersonalist non-devotees. This is a verse from Mahabharata, Dana Dharma, Vishnu Sarasya Nama Strota. In his commentary on the Vishnu Sarasya Nam, called the Namatra Suya, Sri Baladev Vidyabhusan, commenting on this verse, asserts that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to the evidence of the Upanishads. He explains that Suvarna Varna means a golden complexion. He also quotes the Vedic injunctions, Yada Pasya Pasyati Rukma Varna Katar Kartaram Isham Purusham Brahmayonim from the Mundaka Upanishads 313. Rukma Varna Karatam Isham refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as having a complexion the color of molten gold. Purusham means the Supreme Lord, and Brahma Yonim indicates that he is also the Supreme Brahman. This evidence too proves that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Another meaning of the description of the Lord as having the golden hue is that Lord Chaitanya's personality is as fascinating as gold is attractive. Srila Baladev Vidyabhusana has explained that the word Varanga means exquisitely beautiful. Lord Chaitanya accepted sannyas, leaving aside his house or life to reach his mission. He was equanimity in different senses. First, he describes the confidential truth of the personality of Godhead. And second, he satisfies everyone by knowledge and attachment to Krishna. He is peaceful because he renounces all topics not related to the service of Krishna. Sri Baladev Vidyabhushana has explained that the word Nishta indicates his being rigidly fixed in chanting of the holy name of Krishna. The Lord Chaitanya subdued all disturbing opponents of devotional service, especially the monists who are actually adverse to the personal feature of the Supreme Lord. Umagyan Timidandasya Gina Gina Chanakaya Sak Chaksun Militam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadammayam Dadati Swam Padantikam Vandeham Shiguro Shiyata Shiyata Padakamalam Shigurum Vaishnavamscha Shivupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Dvaganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Scha Mama Om Vishnu Vadaya Krishna Prasthaya Uttalai Shri Makti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamaya Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vricharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Prastyatya Desatarine Panchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhuve Vachapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Before I begin, I have to make a little adjustment in the environment here because there is sounds coming in from different places and I need to change things. I'll be right back. Okay, we are back. So today actually is the day after Gaur Purnima. It's also known as Jagannath Mishra Mahotsava. And so actually it's a day for celebration. The day after is the day where we honor the feast that was offered to the Lord the day before, because the devotees only take Ekadasi Prashadam on Gaur Purnima. And today is like a huge feast here where I am in the evening. So, but it's also a day for honoring Jagannath Mishra, who is the father of Lord Chaitanya. Here in this verse that we read, we can give some indication, and from the Mahabharata, which is not generally a scripture that we find spiritual references, but because it's history, Mahabharata deals with something that is very, how we say, not found in a lot of other scriptures. But it's interesting here how this verse is mentioned. Lord Chaitanya, he's called Gauranga, golden complexion. He was a householder. His limbs are beautiful, body smeared with sandal. But he's accepted the sannyas order of life. Anyone who worships Lord Chaitanya will be peaceful and find transcendental happiness. And he's giving the highest transcendental knowledge by teaching the process of Bhakti Yoga through the process of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. No, this is one of the more significant verses that indicates Lord Chaitanya's appearance in the world as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya did not write. Actually, he wrote only two things that we know of. When he was Nimai Pandit in his early years, he wrote an expert explanation of the principles of Nayak, which is grammar and logic. And that book was never circulated around because another person had done the same topic in a book around the same time as Lord Chaitanya did. This person who did it, he found out that Nimai Pandit, who was Lord Chaitanya at the time, who was called Nimai Pandit, he became unhappy. And he said to Nimai Pandit, you know, I have written the same as you have, but my book will never be read by anyone because everyone will read your book and not mine. So Lord Chaitanya is compassion personified, and also he's detached. So he took his book and threw it in the Ganga. So we never know what that book was about. Obviously, it was perfect because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Later on, he wrote 8 verses describing the entire process of devotional service known as Shikshastakam. Shik teachings, Shastakam 8 significant teachings that make up the entire process of pure devotional service. As Srila Rupa Goswami explains, in Chaitanya Charitamrita is written that bhakti has 9 stages: Adau, Strata, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishta, Ruchi, Ashakti, Bhava, and Prema. Each one of those 9 stages have subcategories within them. But together, all 9 is the step-by-step process by which one traverses the process of pure devotional service to the perfectional stage of Prema Pumartha Mahan, or love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those 8 verses, the Goswamis studied each one of those verses. And Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, and especially Jiva Goswami, wrote books based on those 8 verses. Gopal Bhatta Goswami also. Gopal Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, we don't have any indication that he wrote anything, but 5 of the 6 Goswamis wrote books. And their basic teachings was from Lord Chaitanya's 8 verses, along with the instructions they had received from Lord Chaitanya. Rupa Goswami met Lord Chaitanya at Prayag, and for 10 consecutive days, the Lord enlightened him in the entire process of pure devotional service, which he later wrote down as Nectar Devotion, Nectar of the Instructions, and other works that are more on the level of Vrindavan. Sanatana Goswami, he did a commentary of Brihad Bhagavatam. He wrote Brihad Bhagavatam, which is a commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then he also wrote a few other books. I can't remember all the books that Sanatana. Jiva Goswami is the most prolific of all of the writers. He wrote more than 400,000 verses. The Tattva, the Sandarbhas especially, are his most noted writings. And everything comes from these Shikshastika prayers. These Shikshastika prayers not only are the 9 processes of devotional service, but they also are the 3 categories of topics that the Vedas are made of. The Vedas only comprise 3 topics: Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. So the Vedas are divided into these 3. Sambandha means relationship. What is my relationship with Krishna? What is my relationship with the spiritual master? What is the nature of my relationship with living entities on different levels of existence? What is my relationship with the material energy? What is my relationship with my material body? Sambandha comprises the most voluminous of all of the 3 categories, and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written books describing the process of Sambandha in detail, and I think it's called Vibhava something. I can't remember. 2 volumes where he speaks about these 3 categories in detail. It's a must read for devotees who are interested in learning the science of Krishna consciousness. And then we have Abhideya. Abhideya is the process. What makes up the activities of pure devotional service? That is Abhideya, such as hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, worshiping, performing austerities, all the activities that fit into the category of pure devotional service is in the larger category called Abhideya. And the final category, which is the smallest of the 3, is Prayojana. Prayojana means the goal of devotional service, which means pure love of God. And so those categories that teach and describe the nature of pure love of God as the ultimate goal of the process of devotional service. So those are all mentioned in these 8 prayers. And now you might think, well, how is that possible? All the Vedas and all of the stages are all found in these 8 simple prayers, but they're not so simple. They're quite complex and they're very unlimitedly deep in philosophical teachings. For instance, the first verse, Cheto Darpanam Arjanam Bhava Mahadevagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kaiva Vichandrika Vitaranam Vidyavatu Jivanam Anandam Bhuri Vardhanam Padipadam Purnam Rikta Swardanam Sarvatma Snaparam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Some commentators also say that in that first verse, the 9 processes of devotional service are described, and that it can be found also just in that one verse alone. In that verse, it describes, the process of devotional service, how to purify the mind, chanting the holy names, how to push back the effects of the material energy by chanting the holy names, how to awaken one's hidden good fortune through chanting of the holy names, how to awaken transcendental knowledge by chanting the holy names, how to experience transcendental happiness, bliss through chanting of the holy names, how to understand my eternal relationship with Krishna in the spiritual world through chanting of the holy names, and how to purify everything in relationship to my existence through chanting of the holy names. So these are the 7 benedictions that's mentioned in that first verse of Shikshastra. And that's just a little indication of just a small part of this unlimited knowledge that is there within those 9 processes. But one of the most important verses, which was given focus by Lord Chaitanya and repeated over and over by him, Shanadapi Sanichena Tayori Vasa Hishnuna Amaninam Amanadena Kirtaniya Sadarahi. To chant the holy names of the Lord, one should cultivate these qualities. What is that? Humility, tolerance, pridelessness, and respect for all living beings. These 4 categories, when they are developed, they lead one to Kirtaniya Sada Ahi, Sada Hari, which means one can continuously and spontaneously chant the holy names of the Lord without any effort. When one develops these. So you find that these 9 processes of devotional service, the first verse, which we just mentioned, establishes sadhu sangha, faith, sadhu sangha, and bhajana kriya. So faith brings one to devotional service. Sadhu sangha associates with devotees, and one executes the process. When the process becomes developed to a certain level, one wants to engage in the process continuously. So then the next stage is bhajana kriya. One seeks out a bona fide spiritual master works under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master through submission, service, and inquiry. The fourth verse is mentioned, or the second verse, Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktista Tarpita Niyamita Smarane Nakavaha Yatartha Sri Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Dordaiva Midrisam Vihajani Anuragaha. That there's no rules, no regulations, no restrictions. One can chant the holy names at any time, any place, anywhere. And there's no preliminary qualifications for chanting. And Krishna has unlimited names, like Krishna and Govinda. And his names are invested with all his transcendental potencies. And then Lord Chaitanya ends that verse by saying, Durdaivam. Durdaivam means I'm unfortunate. Even though I have everything in front of me, I have no desire to chant. In other words, I haven't awakened that desire to chant, although the Lord is so merciful by giving everything in his name and making the chanting of the holy name free from all forms of restrictions. Durdaiva means I have no taste, I have no desire. Durdaiva also has the second meaning. It also means I commit offenses. And because I commit offenses, I can't chant the holy name. The third verse is, as we mentioned, Trinadapi Sanichena, Tayori Vasuhishnina, Mani Namamana Dena, Kirtaniya Sadarahi. One should practice humility, tolerance, pridelessness, respect for others. These are the ornaments of the devotee that allows the devotee to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra spontaneously. That verse all indicates the second verse indicates anartha nivritti. As we mentioned, the first verse is sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, faith, association, and taking shelter of the spiritual master. The fourth stage is anartha nivritti. That's the second verse, that everything is there, but still I commit offenses. One has to get free from the anarthas. The offenses are also a category of the anarthas. And if one practices that verse, then one can chant the holy name spontaneously, and one comes to the platform of nishta. Nishta means I'm fixed in devotional service. I'm not going to go away. There's nothing that's going to deter me from the practice of devotional service. 75% of my anarthas are destroyed, and I'll continue to make progress through chanting and serving. The next verse is Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam vajagadishakam moye mama janmani janmani ishvare bhavata bhakti arhaituki tvai. I don't want wealth. I don't want followers. I don't want the pleasures of the opposite sex. I don't even want to be known as a great orator of Vedic knowledge. What do I want? Janmani janmani ishvare bhavata bhakti arhaituki. Haituki means without any motivation. I want without any motivation to serve you life after life, if you so desire. So that's the stage of ruchi, which is the sixth stage in the 9 stages of bhakti. On that stage, what is that verse? Prasannatma nasoshyati nakankshati samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhakti lavate prama. On that verse, one is feeling transcendental happiness. They don't lament. They don't hanker for anything material. They don't lament any loss of anything material. And they are engaged in pure devotional service. So that is the 6th stage. And the 4th verse The fifth verse, Ayinanda Tanuja Kinkara, Patitam Mam Vishyame Bhavam Buddho, Kribayanta Vapada Pankaja, Stita Duli Sadrisham Vichintaya. O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servant. Somehow I've fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from the ocean of death and place me at one of the atoms at your lotus feet. The devotee is feeling intense separation from Krishna through the process of executing devotional service. One is praying to Krishna, please give me the shelter of your lotus feet. There's no other desire I have. And one is feeling affection, developing preliminary affection for Krishna. And that stage is ashakti, attachment to Krishna, strong attachment. The next stage, and that is the fifth verse, the sixth verse is Ayinanda no is Nayanam Gladara Srudadaya Vadanam Gadgara Rudaya Gira Pulakaya Nichitam Vapuka Daltavanamagrahame Bhavishyati. When will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? When will the hairs of my body stand at the recitation of your holy name? In this verse, this is bhava. This is preliminary love for Krishna. One is feeling in both separation and a strong desire to meet Krishna in loving devotional service. One is exhibiting various transcendental emotions. And in this stage of bhava, it goes through higher and higher levels of expressions of emotional love. This is the preliminary stage of love of God, and it's mentioned in this sixth verse, and this is the eighth stage on the 9 stages of bhakti. The next verse, Nayanam, what is, let's see, what is that verse? Govinda Virahe Name. I'm trying to think of the first line of that 7th verse. First line of the 7th verse is, if I know the first word, I can do it. Verse, what's that first word? You're spelling it wrong. That's why. Okay, so isn't there one devotee out there that knows the 7th verse? There must be somebody. Is Sri Devi out there? No, she knows it.
Yugaitam nimishena chakshusha pravrishaitam.
What's the first word?
Yugaitam Guru Maharaj.
Okay, here you go. Yugaitam nimeshena chakshusha pravishaitam shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virahe name. So this the 8th verse, 7th verse, O Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain. I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. This verse is love of God in the mood of separation. And this is called Vipralamba Bhav, separation from Krishna, which is the highest expression of love. I'm feeling each moment seems like 12 years. We know that when you're waiting for something and you're counting the seconds as you wait, each second seems like 5 minutes. When you wait, it's So here it is waiting for Krishna to please come and relieve my pain of separation from you. I'm begging you, please, the separation is too much. And each moment is like an eternity. This is the feelings of love of God and separation. And what is the result? I look at everything in my life and nothing has any meaning anymore. My car, my computer, my money, my clothes, what I eat, my family members, even my own body, nothing has any meaning anymore. It looks all vacant. It looks dry. It has no attraction at all. So this vacancy extends itself to everything in relationship to what we have. And all we can think of is, when will Krishna come and relieve my feelings of loving separation? The last verse, Alishyava Paravatam Tenastu Mama Darshanam Mama Hartam Kato Tuva Yata Tita Varadatu Lampato Mat Pranam Yanastu Saevana Padaha. I know one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me. He's completely free to do anything and everything. He is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. So these last two verses generally are the mood of Srimati Radharani, especially this last verse. That it doesn't matter. Krishna is, what is the word here? He's a debauchee. What is the word that it gives here? He's a lumpato. I think the word is lumpato. And marma is a term in wrestling where two wrestlers are fighting and one hits another wrestler in a certain way, and that's called a marma, or a strong blow coming from the opponent. So here it says that even if you handle me roughly and you make me brokenhearted and you can do anything, it doesn't matter. You can ignore me. Still, my love for you doesn't change a bit. You're always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Now, this is a very elevated stage of bhakti, and it's love of God. It's called Vipalamba and Sambhog. This is called Sambhog. Sambhog means meeting Krishna. And you have many examples in the Shastras where the gopis were meeting Krishna, but they weren't happy because they were thinking, we're meeting Krishna and it's nice, but he's going to leave and then we'll suffer. So they can't even enjoy the meeting because they kind of think he's going to go away anyway. So then we're going to suffer some more. So while they're meeting him, they can't even take an advantage of being with him because they're always thinking he's going to leave. So this is very hard to understand from a position of material life, but from the highest spiritual platform. It's one of the features of the loving mood of Krishna. And Krishna, he can do anything. It doesn't matter. My love for him will never change. My love for him will never decrease, no matter what he does. So this is the highest stage of bhakti as expressed in this verse. So these are the 9 stages given by Lord Chaitanya, given in these 8 verses of Shikshastakam prayer. Study these prayers. Read them every day, especially before you chant your japa. They're an entrance into the chanting of one's japa every day. We should always recite these 8 prayers. And you can recite them in Sanskrit or in the English, either one, but one should make it a daily feature to recite these prayers and learn them. There's commentaries by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Specifically, these 2 acharyas have written, not extensively, but very, what we say, interestingly, in detail about these 8 verses. These 8 verses are probably the most important prayers we can chant. Okay, so I just wanted to give you an overview of these 8 prayers along with the 9 processes that coincide with these 8 prayers.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. It was really nice class. After Gaur Purnima, I think it was perfect to hear Asishtashtakam and all the things associated with it, like for example, faith, anartha nivritti, bhajan kriya, and sadhu sangha. So thank you ever so much. And also, Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. And previously to that, you also explained the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's beauty and how he took the sannyas order. So that was really very nice to hear. It brings back all the memories of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Thank you so much. So devotees, if you have any questions, comments, realizations, please raise your hands, ask questions, or leave it the message in the chat box, and I will read it for you. Yes, Raj Prabhu, you can go. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to
before you start, Raj, I'm surrounded by kirtan on all sides here, and it's a little difficult for me to hear every word that the devotees speak. So if you can increase your volume, that's nice.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you for the class today, Maharaj. I've actually, the last 3 classes I've heard have all included importance of and glories of the Shikshashtakam prayers. So I feel that I need to try and learn more about these and understand them better. So I wonder if you have, I know you suggested that Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur have written about these prayers, but I wonder if you know of any book.
Yeah, there's a book called Shikshashtakam. It's published in ISKCON circles. It's a small book with somewhat of an orange cover. It says Shikshashtakam, and it has both commentaries by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in that book.
Okay,
and that's the most direct periodical that I know of.
Thank you. And do you know of anyone that's provided nice classes on these prayers?
Yeah, me.
Okay, I shall search for those.
Yeah, if you go, I gave a whole series of classes at Bhaktivedanta Manor in the year 2015, I think it was, during April. They recorded. I'm actually putting together a book based on all my talks on Shikshashtakam. Radha Bhakti is working on that, and so it's hard to say when it's going to come out because she's working on so many other projects too. So, but I've also heard that Ravinda Swarup Prabhu, he's given classes on it, which are recorded. If you go to Ravinda Swarup, maybe you can find where his recordings are. He's done classes on it. He's taken each verse, and those classes are at Gita Nagari in America back in, I don't know, around 2010, maybe around that time. I'm not sure of the year. If you can find his website or somewhere where his lectures are recorded and accessible, look for his Shikshastakam lectures. They're really powerful.
Thank you, Maharaj. That's very helpful.
Yeah, there's a lot out there. And tomorrow I'm giving class here in Mumbai for Bhagavatam class on the Shikshastakam prayers. So it's also live streamed, I think. And so that's usually around 8 o'clock in the morning. And so that should be around, oh, I'm not sure. It'll be evening time for you, somewhere around, I don't know. What's the difference? There's about 5.5 hours difference between, oh, that'll be like in the middle of the night. So, unless you want, if you can't sleep tomorrow, I think around 3 o'clock in the morning, you can come up and listen to my class and Shikshastakam prayers.
It would be available on the Mayapur TV because Mayapur TV always archive, Prabhu. So you can see on Mayapur TV, you can hear on Mayapur TV.
Thank you.
And basically, I'll just say what I said today. But if you want a more extensive, you can get my classes that were given at the manor. I think it was 2015 or 16. It was in April of 2015 or 16. I'm not sure. One of those years for sure.
Okay, thank you very much, Maharaj.
Devotees don't turn on their cameras anymore, I guess. Satyabhama, you have to learn the mantras where you can get people to turn on the cameras.
Devotees, please, it will be nice to take your darshan. Jai, Jai, very nice. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you. Wow, I'm starting to feel like I'm with somebody now instead of a computer screen. Okay. Any other comments, questions? Anything on Lord Chaitanya if you want to speak or ask questions.
So Guru Maharaj, if you don't mind, I have a question. In this, verse 349, it said that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and as we all know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the sannyas. And yesterday was the Gaur Purnima, and we were dressing the, Gaunitai at the temple and home deities as well. And I always have question in my mind. And in one of the verse in CC somewhere, I remember it was said that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not like the, different smells or perfumes or things like, I don't remember what was the exact verse, but so I always feel like when we dress Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we put on so much jewelry and we have, the outfit is very, always a very fancy outfit, like, very nice, beautiful outfits we put on. So does it not goes against the order he took, as in, sannyas order?
Well, there's always a controversy on that. Depends on what school of thought you're from.
Okay.
But according to the principles that are established within the ISKCON society and other places, so we worship him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so we dress him, usually you have the three deities, you have Gaunitai, Radha Krishna, and Jagannath. So you have matching outfits for all three. But I wouldn't put a whole bunch of jewelry on him. No, it's not like he should look so ostentatious or flamboyant. Make it nice, keep it. Those who know how to dress really put the ornamentations in the dress and not so much in the jewelry. Jewelry is just to highlight the dress. The dress is really done nicely. Just a little ornamentation just kind of enhances the quality of the dress. But one thing I don't like, and a lot of devotees don't like it either, is that when we just dress them in Punjabi pants, stay away from that. He's not a Punjabi, Tiwala. He's so, and in many temples they do that. They put them in Punjabi. You've seen it, right? Punjabi pants.
Yes.
Yeah. So get rid of that. 100%.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. That was very useful. And I have one more question, if you don't mind me asking. Like, it's related to Shishthashtakam.
Hi, Krishna Maharaj.
Yes.
Is it Amita? Yes, go on, Amita.
Amita, go ahead.
Hi, Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much for enlightening us. And thank you to Satyabhama who told me about this class. So Maharaj, I have a question. So on the same, I'm extending on Satyabhama's question. She said about Rasabhas. So shall we put Tulsi on Mahaprabhu's feet and peacock on his turban or not? Because I said sometimes devotees say this is Rasabhas.
Well, Prabhupada, when he came to Bhaktivedanta Manor, when he saw the deities of Bornatai at Bhaktivedanta Manor, he said, Lord Chaitanya must have a peacock feather, and Lord Nityananda can have a peacock feather or not have a peacock feather. And we always put tulsi leaves on the feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. We worship him as a supreme personality of Godhead, not as a devotee. I mean, there's a controversy about that. There's some sadhus, even within ISKCON, who say, he shouldn't be worshipped in that mood. But you'll find different, the Acharyas, we take what Srila Prabhupada taught us. Whatever Prabhupada said, we follow. He's in the line of the Acharya. And Prabhupada said we should dress him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worship him in that way. He must have a peacock feather. The tulsi leaves are also placed on Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda's feet because they are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna Balaram. They're non-different than Lord Krishna and Balaram. And Nityananda can have a peacock feather or not have a peacock feather. Some temples don't dress Lord Chaitanya with peacock feathers, but that's contrary to what Prabhupada said. Prabhupada said, peacock feather on Lord Chaitanya. And he spoke that to the devotees who were there at the time. And one of the devotees who was there was Malati. And Malati has said over and over again, Lord Chaitanya, according to Prabhupada, must have a peacock feather.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Amita.
Please accept my humble obeisances unto your lotus feet, Maharaj.
My obeisances to you, and drive carefully.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Any other questions, devotees? Otherwise, I will ask my question later, actually. You can ask your questions first. While we are waiting, Guru Maharaj, I would like to ask a question about the Anartha Nivritti. in this. And you mentioned about that 75% of anarthas removed. So to go to a bhav platform, does someone has to have complete 100% anarthas removed, or at the bhav platform you can have you still have anarthas, but you still have that spontaneous love for Krishna?
Well, the anarthas that continue up to the higher stages are usually offenses. They're not the anarthas of pious activities. They're not the anarthas of impious activities. They're not the anarthas of misconceptions of philosophical knowledge. They're the anarthas of offenses. So it says that even on the preliminary stages of love of God, one can commit an offense. So offenses, one has to be very careful. So those are if we have committed an offense and we haven't rectified that offense, depending if it's Vaishnava Aparad, then it's quite serious. And that will block one's advancement to higher stages.
So you mean to say we can still make a Vaishnava offense at this stage of bhav and prema?
Yeah, we have the example. There's many examples in the Shastras. One great orator of the Shastra, he was on the stage of bhava. We also have the example of Bharat Maharaj. When he was in the forest, he got attracted to a deer and fell down from his stage. He was on bhava. But he was forced to take 2 other births because of that offense, but because of that deviation. So yeah, even on the higher stages, one can slip.
So Guru Maharaj, when we talk about anarthas is which is coming, what you mentioned about, coming from the impious activities from our previous birth, or which is, because of our conditioned life, that anarthas we have developed in our, in consciousness. So you mean that
it's not only impious activities, it's also anarthas from pious activities too. You wanting material happiness, that's an anartha. Wanting elevation to the higher planets, that's an anartha. Wanting mystic power, that's an anartha. Wanting liberation, that's an anartha. All of these particular features are available through pious activities. But if one desires them and tries to fulfill that, then they can fall down.
Okay.
Or they can be blocked in their progress.
So Guru Maharaj, it sounds very, maybe not even a difficult but impossible task to, remove anarthas and reach to the stage of even bhava. So what is the ultimate, a solution, or maybe a something which, as you always say, surrender?
Don't worry about getting to bhava. Whatever stage you're on, try to go to the next stage. You should know the 9 stages. So and the symptoms that are characteristic of those each stage. But understand where you are and understand where you need to go. That's all. So once we take initiation from the spiritual master, then we're dealing with anartha nivritti. And if we can somehow or other remain fixed in devotional service despite whatever happens, good or bad, so-called, then we've reached the stage of nishtha. And if you study each stage, there's explanations of the characteristics of each stage. So nishtha has certain characteristics. And then Anishta, Ruchi. Ruchi has certain characteristics. Shakti has certain characteristics. If you read Nectar Devotion, you can find some of the symptoms in there. If you read Bhagavatam, you can find some. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Jaiva Dharma, the symptoms are mentioned nicely, sequentially. And there are other works too. So learn what stage you're on and don't worry about the higher stages. Go to the next stage.
Okay, Guru Maharaj. Sure. Thank you. I
Yeah.
started reading this book. I think last time you mentioned me getting this book from Shivaram Swami Maharaj. You remember?
Oh, yes. This is a very detailed explanation of the science of bhakti.
Shuddha
And
Bhakti Chintamani.
that's Rupa Goswami getting knowledge from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Prayag.
Yes. Last time.
I took notes on that book. I have 60 pages of notes.
Really?
Yeah, so when you finish the book, then I'll send you the notes. Otherwise, if I send you the notes ahead of time, you might not read the book.
Sure, Guru Maharaj. I will finish the book and I'll let you know. I'll request the notes.
Yeah, your husband's online here, so he's witness to what you just said.
He has a question. You can ask, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for so much wonderful class. Please accept my humble obeisances. I have a question related to that offenses. You said like Vaishnava offense is the most dangerous one. So my question is like in family life, when husband and wife both are Vaishnava, and so in the relationship, we normally make offenses against each other. So how do we guard against that?
Nadapi Sanichena Tayoriva Sahishnuna Maninam Amanadena Kirtaniya Sadalahi. Cultivate that verse from the Shikshastika. Humility, tolerance, pridelessness, giving respects to others. In that, Lord Chaitanya teaches the characteristics that a devotee should develop in order to practice Krishna consciousness progressively, effectively. If you follow that verse, that is the ornament of the entire process of bhakti. And read that verse and understand each of the categories in depth. And if you follow that, you won't commit any offenses. And if you do, they won't be so serious. They'll be done inadvertently. Like we can commit offenses just because we don't know what to avoid, or we don't know what to do. That's another way to commit offenses. Like sometimes people go to the temple and they act wrongly inside the temple in front of the deities, not knowing how to behave in front of the deities. And that's, you might say, unknowingly committing offenses, but that unknowingly means that they didn't take the time to find out. There's at least 8 different personal activities that we should perform or not perform in front of the deities. There's certain things you should do before the deities and certain things you should not do before the deities. And if we don't know them, then we're committing an offense. So learn them. Like it says, speaking loudly before the deities, that's an offense. Instructing others before the deities, that's an offense. Sitting with one's legs up in the air before the deities, that's an offense. Pointing one's feet or sitting with one's back to the deities, that's an offense. Wearing very flashy clothes before the deities, that's a subtle offense. That means you're trying to attract attention to yourself. And the whole idea is to attract attention to Krishna. So it says specifically, one should not wear red or blue before the deities. It's in nectar devotion. Unless you're getting married. Then you can wear red. But that doesn't happen every day. For some people, it happens quite often, but but that's another subject. So yeah, the attention should be on the deities and in the right mood. One should offer prayers before the deities. One should bring a gift every time they visit the deities. That's culture. It's even in Indian culture. You bring something when you go to the temple. People bring usually some rice, or some atta, some sugar, something. Be some boga for the deities offering. Or if you can't get, you can pick a flower and offer it to the deities. One should not go to the temple empty-handed.
Thank you so much. That explains a lot.
So these offenses are eradicated by continuous chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So there's offenses to the holy name, offenses to the deity, offenses to the Vaishnavas, offenses to people in general. So offenses to the holy name, one has to stop committing it and chant the holy name. Offenses to the deities, one has to stop committing it and chant the holy name. Offenses to the Vaishnavas, one should approach the Vaishnava that you offended, beg forgiveness, and ask for service. Offenses to people in general, well, we should avoid that as much as possible because Krishna is in the heart of all living entities. And that is overcome by chanting of the holy name also.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Okay.
much. Thank you. Yeah, it explains a lot.
Any other question? Or should we?
Brishab, hey Brishab, you there? I see your signal is there. Mr. Brishab.
SB13, I think is.
I think he's away from his thing.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Hare
write
Krishna.
you an email. I'm gonna write you an email tonight, so look for it.
Jai. I will dissipate it on my laptop, refreshing like. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Is there?
Okay, so yeah. Thank you all, Sumitra. Nice to see you. Tirti Kirti